morning and welcome to Wake Up to Wellness with Michelle Christman. And I'm so excited you guys are with us this morning. We're here to empower you to be healthy and well naturally for you, your family, your friends, and your children. And one thing that I absolutely love about this is that every day you have the choice to move forward and be healthy and well naturally, or you have the choice to continue to not only remain the same, which most Americans believe that, but the reality is the body is either heading towards sickness and illness or it's heading towards health and wellness. See, the body never stays stagnant. It's so smart. It's so intelligent. It knows what to do. And in today's world, we're being taught that the exact opposite, that if we feel good, we're well, and if we feel bad, we're sick. The reality is that's not how we function nor how we work. The one thing that's always been interesting to me is that nobody wakes up in the morning and yawns and says, "Oh, God, I feel great. I think I'm going to go see my medical doctor." Yet at the end of the day, they're always waiting for that symptom to whether come or go. We always hear, I call it the roller coaster ride. The symptoms come, the symptoms go. And many people will say, gosh, you know what? I'm just going to wait it out. If the pain or the discomfort goes away in a day or two, or maybe in a week, maybe in a month, well then, you know what? I'm fine. The one thing that always interests me is there's so many celebrities out there and really amazing people that you and I know that have the most amazing talents in life. This morning I heard of absolutely amazing artist that passed away. He was the gentleman that painted dolphins and whales, and at the end of the day I say to myself, this guy was such a young man. He was 54 years old, I think, and why did he pass away at such a young age? See, for many people the first symptom that something is wrong is death. And we're seeing this time and time again. We're seeing younger children, we're seeing younger adults that are losing their lives. And you have to, at the end of the day, ask, well, why? We're supposed to be living in the richest country in the world as far as health. We spend the most on medicine, we spend the most on supposed health care, and we also look at all these advances in technology and research and say, you know what, we must be the best out there. Yet right now, we are, and this is according to the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, we are ranked 37th in the world in health, which means that Cuba, if you lived there, you would have a better chance of having a healthier life than you do here in the United States. So you have to start asking yourself, what is health? We're going to be speaking to one of those amazing, amazing doctors of chiropractic. His name is Dr. DePice. And we're going to not only be delving into health and wellness and how you and your family can be the best that you can possibly be, but also we're going to be talking about his journey and how he has not only learned and grown as an individual, but how you're going to be able to walk away with amazing tips that you can do very simple and easily so you can be the best in health. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I can't wait for you guys to hear Dr. DePice.
Christman Family Chiropractic, a creating wellness center located at 2310 Churchville Road, Suite C in Bel Air, is enhancing lives through the power of a chiropractic adjustment. As a licensed chiropractor in Maryland and Pennsylvania, Dr. Evan Christman can correct damage from years of lifestyle stresses while educating you to maintain good health for your lifetime. A dedicated professional with a very special focus on children with learning differences and autism, Dr. Christman treats people of all ages: newborn babies, children, pregnant women, families, seniors, and professional golfers. Isn't it time for you to reclaim your life? Take your first step toward health and vitality today. Call Christman Family Chiropractic, a creating wellness center, at 410-734-4060 and let their experienced staff show you how to restore the flow of life. 410-734-4060 or check them out at restorelifeflow.com.
Welcome back to Wake Up to Wellness with Michelle Christman. I'm so excited you guys are with us. Today we have Dr. DePice, who's one of the most amazing chiropractors in the world. I've got to tell you, there's oftentimes somebody in your life that, I always call it, shines a light or shines a candle in front of you. You look at it and you say, God, you know what? This person's not only absolutely humble, absolutely wonderful, amazing, has the best intentions in the world, and Yes, very highly successful doctor, and so is his wife. However, he's one of those people that I know deep down in his heart he's rooting for the everyday person. He's rooting for the everyday doctor. That he's saying, if I can lift you up, then I can lift the rest of the world up. And he does it in such a way that you walk away feeling so grateful and thankful to be a part of his life. And Dr. Dean DePice, I'd love to welcome you to Wake Up to Wellness this morning.
Thank you. It's great to be welcomed here.
Thank you. And I just want to begin to say that, tell me, you have been a doctor of chiropractic for how long now?
25 years.
25 years. So in this time frame, what got you started? I mean, was there an absolutely amazing story that occurred in your life that you said, you know what, I'm going to head down this path? Or do you think it was more of just a God-given, innate, driven path that you were headed down to begin to help, as I say, humanity be the best they can possibly be?
Wow. I have to wonder whether I should give the 8-hour answer or the one that'll fit on this talk show. I've been getting adjusted since I was born, basically. A few weeks after I was born, my mom started me on getting adjusted, and she had a turn of events between having my 2 older brothers and me. She had a lower GI disorder, all sorts of problems that occurred, and she was slated for surgery, and, long story short, the surgery ended up being postponed because of the results of some chiropractic care she was, quote-unquote, trying. And from being delayed, then it was canceled altogether. And following that, she decided, you know what, this whole medical agenda, while fine for intervention of death, is certainly not a healthcare system. She decided this back in the 50s. So when I was born, she decided that every time I was sick, the first place she was taking me was to the chiropractor. And interestingly, I had one vaccination, got sick after that, and she stopped getting me vaccinated. And it became a standing joke when she walked into the pediatrician's office. The pediatrician would say, I know, you're not going to do anything I would tell you to do, but you want to know what my observations are. Because that's what medicine is usually best for, is helping rule out what things are not really conclusively deciding what things are or what's best to do. So medicine's great for crisis intervention, but it's certainly not a healthcare system, and my mom got that at a young age. And while I didn't go to school to imagining I was going to be a chiropractor in the beginning, I was an extremely rigid classical musician with very staunch study habits, very articulated in breaking things down into their mechanistic pieces and perfecting them beyond amazing ability, and then, bringing music together after that.
Wow.
And when I left that, and I began natural to turn towards something that had been great for me all my life, which was chiropractic.
Wow, that is amazing. I never knew that. And so, I hear that you were so much into classical music. And in the back of my mind, I think to myself of chiropractic. And many people that know me, they'll say, well, God, Michelle, you could compare most anything to chiropractic. But the one thing that I've always learned is that the body's so smart and intelligent. The first organ and system created was your central nervous system that controls every single organ, tissue, and cell. That's where health and life is coming from. And I think about classical music, and I think, well, there has to be that main system, maybe the notes or the beats, and then you add to them. And it interests me because here's somebody that I assume is probably so good at hearing and putting things together, but you also are now absolutely amazing at taking care of a human individual that may be somewhat like an instrument or a music or something that, I always watch my husband adjust, and I always feel like, he's just tuning the body up. He's allowing the body to be the best he can be. And what do you think about those comparisons? Are there any or no?
Oh my gosh, you gave so many. You're a woman of abundance. So let's, one thing that came to my mind as you said that was, what's the parallel system to the nervous system? Is there one in music? Made me think that I guess the vibratory rhythm upon which sound is transmitted, it's a rhythm. If we make a sound today, ultimately the vibratory rhythms of it exist in the universe eternally. At least this is what we've been taught from discoveries we've stumbled upon now. And I guess the nervous system is similar to the sound system. The nervous system conducts an impulse. The sound system conducts a rhythm. And if you conduct a rhythm in a windstorm or in a rainstorm or where there's other confusing static and noise, what happens is the original rhythm becomes contaminated, it becomes muted, or it becomes washed out. Whatever it is less pure and accurate of a sound to interpret. And the nervous system goes through the same thing in the body. If you have a body that's contaminated with subluxations or misalignments of bone pressing on nerves, if you have a body where the nervous system is contaminated with inflammatory contractures, muscles that are swollen around the spinal column, placing pressures on nerves, if you have a nervous system that's contaminated with things like nutrients that are not facilitating the ideal conduction of the electrical impulses as they need to be. I could go on with the examples, but pressure on nerves limits conduction of electrical impulse, which is our source of life, and wind and other things interfering with the ripples of sound waves interferes with the conduction of the sound. You're not going to sit and listen to the Washington Symphony Orchestra and decide to do it in a windstorm outside while there's buses honking and driving by. You would destroy the quality of the sound. How's that?
It makes complete sense, which then takes my mind to, how does such a smart, intelligent body that's self-healing and self-regulating break down? And at the end of the day, I know from doing all that we've done over the years, it's from the stresses from our lifetime, the physical,
right,
chemical, and emotional. And as well as I know that, we see a lot of families, a lot of children, but also focus on children with learning differences and autism. And I know over your time frame of being a doctor of chiropractic, you have focused on brain injury children with your wife, who I absolutely love, Dr. Jen, and I had her on about a month or so ago. Amazing, amazing woman. Tell me, in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking about that music and, that beautiful piece of music, and not allowing that sitting outside and hearing the bus and the honking noises. But what are we doing to our lives? Think about the lifestyle that we're all living. If we could live in a perfect world, I know researchers state the body is supposed to live healthy for 150 years. However, we're seeing people die at such early ages. So tell me, how do those stresses greatly affect your central nervous system, which is what you're living your life through?
Well, as you were speaking, one of the things I was thinking of is, one of the paths I think people go down is the idea that, well, if I could get rid of my stresses, then nothing would happen. But the reality of life is if you're breathing, stresses accumulate, and that's normal. Personal, emotional stresses can drive you to invent solutions to world problems. Emotional stresses could also lead you to, question whether to continue another day of your life. It's what we do with the stresses that's the issue. There will be physical stresses. Things are going to happen. You're going to bump into things. Innocently, while you're driving safely, a car could rear end you or come across the divider of a highway and hit you head on, and you were seemingly driving in a way to prevent stresses, and they happen. So the problem isn't the stress. The problem is two things. Who are we in the face of the stress based upon the quality of life we've lived? What's the readiness of the equipment we've got? And number two, once we have a surprise stress, what do? Some people immediately go into the panic of, oh my gosh, the economy's bad, we're all going to go bankrupt. And others say, well, we'll figure out a way. This isn't the first time in the world economies have been different. When have economies ever not had challenges? Somewhere in the world somebody's bankrupt and somebody's becoming a multi-billionaire. That's just who we are in that conduct. So in terms of the body and conducting impulses from brain to body parts, we have to be people that have a well-tuned and cared-for central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, or postural base. And to the degree that you have that, when and if you have a stress or an injury, you're going to rebound from it more quickly. And if you haven't, and you're sitting on this line now and you feel like, oh, my posture stinks, it always has, I'm 200 pounds overweight, I don't know what to do with myself, forget it, there's no sense listening. Well, anything you do is better than not doing it. And anything, nothing about your past defines your future. Your life is defined by what you and I choose to think, say, and do when we get off this line today. So if you do anything that's an improvement. If you just sit up straight more often, you're in a better place. So, there's the long-term benefit of changing your habits, and then there's the treatment benefits of changing your habits. I hope I'm addressing the question you brought up.
Yeah, and and also too with children with brain injury and when you talk about their central nervous system functioning at their most optimal level, what are you looking at? Many parents, when they come into chiropractic offices or doctor's offices, period, they're looking for a better path, a better answer for their children so that they can be, they can level. How does that integrate with chiropractic? Why should a mom or a dad that has a child with brain injuries or learning differences or autism, why should they walk through our doorsteps?
Well, again, if somebody shows up because of a brain injured child, I don't quote-unquote treat brain injury, and I don't think anybody, I would even say a cardiovascular surgeon who does a bypass surgery, he's not treating the heart problem, he's intervening in the crisis. Now we've got to help the human being treat the problem, and how you do for that is you don't treat anything, you care for the person so they care for their physiology better. The crisis intervention is, just that. It's a temporary intervention. The tragedy is people think, well, then they've been cared for, fixed, or treated. No, all you've done is offset the inevitable, and that is that our habits are not helping but sickening our bodies. And what do we do after the crisis intervention? What do we do to live differently? So once somebody walks in with a brain injury, stop worrying about diagnosing after you've conclusively, assessed what's there. Stop focusing on the diagnosis. No patient is their diagnosis. Hippocrates, the supposed father of medicine, was the one who said, don't tell me not of the disease the person has until you tell me the type of person who has the disease, because the person is what matters. So what we do with these children is we teach them, whether it's cross-patterning, whether it's brachiation, whether it's, a complete 4-person rehabilitative program to alternate limb functions in the midst of the child still not comprehending anything that's going on. There's a lot of different things you'll do, but the first thing is that you realize you're in for a lifetime of changed conduct. That's the challenge. And I think on this radio station, I think we attract an audience that gets that there is nothing we're going to talk about that fixes anything as much as there is conduct you can engage in that enhances everything. That's what we're here to do.
Isn't that the truth? And the one thing that always hits me when I talk to you and you being a part of our life are habits. We have habits that are good. We have habits that can continue us down the path of being where we are, which some may call bad, some may call, in the middle. But I've noticed over our time frame of being who we are, we either have good habits or bad habits. And I believe that you're teaching us to have rhythms, to have better habits in our life, to be conscious and make better choices and decisions. How can the everyday person bring that into their life so that it improves their health?
As I was thinking about our call today, that was one of the things that touched me. I said, what do I really want to leave? Because generally speaking, you can hear a half information, you can hear an hour of information. It all becomes a blur if you don't walk away with one simple thing to do. I think if I would leave this conversation today with one thing I would urge is to reduce all the things you must do down to one.
Interesting. The magic of one.
There's no way you're going to change 7 things in your life. You're not even going to change 5 things or probably 4 things. There's a miraculous person or moment in life where somebody really makes a clean sweep. But in most cases, we've got to just pick one thing. And I would reduce the way you're going to address it to one tiny little habit. So, for instance, if there's someone listening right now who does not exercise, and you may even feel guilty about it, you don't even want to talk about it. Oh, my gosh, I'm so embarrassed, I don't exercise. Well, don't look at deciding you're going to get into doing your half-hour-a-day exercises 7 days a week, or worse yet, an hour a day. When I was in college, I'd exercise an hour a day, and, I got to get back to that. No, you don't. Here's what you can do. You can decide that you're going to exercise 3 days a week for 8 minutes.
Interesting.
That's it. Just stop coming up with these highfalutin, overwhelming, disempowering ambitions if you've got to get back into good habits. Habits are the key. We are all slaves to our habits.
Isn't that
and
true?
the only way they can become good ones, if we've got challenged ones, is one tiny little change at a time. And what I commonly don't get, and most of us don't get, is that all of it's got to be done so slowly. If it's ever going to last, it's slow. You know, even when you look at the wellness movement today, everybody wants to buy a fancy wellness package. How about you start with getting adjusted?
Yeah.
And once you spend years getting adjusted, maybe you could add on drinking water. And maybe you can add on actually moving your body or walking. You know, do it in small pieces and increments. But seriously, about the gym thing, what if you made a contract with yourself that your only ambition was that you're going to work out for 8 minutes? And you have to make a contract, and I'll explain why in a moment. But the contract with yourself is it is only 8 minutes. Because here's what commonly happens. People say, well, I've got to exercise. So they jump back into exercise. They start exercising, you know, the hour a day, 2 hours a day. Within about 3 trips to the gym, their schedule's overwhelmed. Their marriage is being more taxed. They have more strife and grief at home. And they're like, this ain't working, and they quit. What if you went 8 minutes a day, and not 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, 3 days a week, 8 minutes, and you did that for a month?
Wow.
And you succeeded at 12, 13, 14 trips to the gym for 8 minutes. And when your wristwatch starts dinging or you notice it's 8 minutes, you get out of that. Get out. Get out of the gym, get in the car, and drive home. If you succeed at that, you can look back and say, you know what? I was a doggone champion for a whole month.
Wow.
I'm unbelievable. And you know what? Many people, that's all, they actually need the emotional bank account of life to be given that, because they feel poopy about themselves, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're feeling out of shape, you're more pounds than you want to be, you can't claim the esteem that, you know, I'm someone who exercises. Do you think you're running around with the real victory cap written on the top of your head? Probably not. How about you give yourself a month of victories, which is 3 times a week you went to the gym for 8 minutes. And then on the second month, you could be like, you know, an Olympian. Maybe you'll go to 12 minutes. But one of the dumb things you could do is the next month say, well, I'm gonna now move this up to a half hour. Bad decision.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I mean, I would like to leave the group today with something where, you know, what are you going to do? And I don't know if this is a call-in line. If it is, right now the line should be starting to light up. We need convictions. We need commitments. We need statements from each other, because human beings are social creatures. We cohabitate. We want to come together and know, you know, that Main Street is bustling with people. Let me sit down and just watch people walk by. Let me feel connected to something. You know, someone on this line needs to get on the line and say, you know what, I just want to share. I'm doing this. And before you know it, that'll create a ripple throughout all the listeners, and other people say, you know what, and I'm going to do this. And we could actually have a collaborative thing go on here where people are given hope by sharing their own commitments, and together they grow stronger.
I absolutely love that. For me, I love to do videos. And so I'm going to commit to doing a minimum of just one simple video every single week to empower people to be healthier. I absolutely can do that. I'm not certain if can people call in on the line, or they can. I think we're on the line that they'd be able to call in on. So in the future, we can certainly do that. We have our producer, Libby, next to us. Libby, is there one thing that you would agree to improve your health with? Yeah. So Libby said she agrees with everything. Is there one thing you want to start to do?
Aha, there's the challenge.
She said she's going to do 8 minutes a day.
Good.
Are you going to walk outside? What are you going to? He said of what? 8 minutes a day of walking. What, 3 times a week, or how often?
At least 3, maybe 4 or 5.
How about we just start with 3?
Okay,
Is that okay? High five. I love it.
Libby, that's the problem of sitting in the front row in the classroom. You know you're getting picked on.
Yeah. Libby is fabulous. You know, I absolutely love that, and that is so huge, because I know people really want to make change. They want to be, you know, the best they can possibly be, and that's such a fabulous thing to not only begin to empower people to do. The other thing that I've learned from you is that magic of 1. Can you spend literally just a quick moment letting people know, because you talked about that. But for us, that's what I call it. What is that? How can they understand that concept?
Well, what Michelle is kindly referencing is we help facilitate doctors to be better people and live more fit lives behaviorally, just as we're with you on the line today, hopefully helping your physiology. And one of the things we teach is called the magic of one, and it is simply this, that if you stop letting the chatter and the scatter and the distractions of your mind and the community around you and the news and the newspapers and the billboards, if you shut down the chatter and get to one thing, and you decide what's the one thing I have to work on, and in some cases it better not be losing weight, because losing weight is an outcome. I don't want you focusing on the outcome. I want you to focus on the behavior that might lead to that virtue. So you would focus on, the magic of one is movement. I'm going to move 8 minutes a day. Whether or not I lose weight is irrelevant, because if I first don't start with moving, it's never going to happen anyway.
Right.
So my one thing is movement. And so my number one desire is to be moving 8 minutes a day. What's the action step? Well, I'm going to walk for 8 minutes a day, 4 days a week for 1 month. That's my action. And I've got one thing and only one thing. Don't start with, well, I'm going to stop eating sweets, and I'm going to stop doing this, and I'm going to stop doing that. Stop all your hope as well. How about we just start with what we're going to do that's better? My desire is movement. My action is walking. It is 8 minutes a day, 4 days a week. I'm doing it for a month. And I've got you got to get your time increment. It's 1 month, or it's 1 week, or it's 1 day. But it's one desire, one action, one time period.
I love
Just
it.
write it on an index card, stick it in your pocket, and succeed at that magic of one thing. And the magic of it is, if it's only one thing, you could do it. The magic of it is, if you're victorious at it, you're going to feel better. Your emotional bank account goes up, and you'll do the next thing.
Isn't
That's
that
the
the
magic.
truth? Isn't that the truth? And so you've given us so much fabulous, not only information, but motivation and steps that we can move forward and start to really, commit to ourselves. You've had such an absolutely fabulous career, and that's because of who you are, and the action steps that you've taken and the lifting everybody up around you. What's that final lesson, to leave us with, whether it be a quick sentence or 2 sentences, what's been your big takeaway being a chiropractor and helping so many people throughout your lifetime?
That life isn't sensational. It's tiny little steps of the mundane done with sensational conviction, sensational consistency, sensational faith, and that ultimately no doctor does the healing and therefore can take credit for nothing, that the greatest healer in the world is in your body. And so many patients I work with don't have hope in their own body. So that it's simple, and that it's long-term, and that it's slow, and that the healer that you need to call and schedule an appointment with is you. That's it.
Isn't that the truth? And that's so powerful. And that's one of the things that I've learned over this time frame of being near my husband and having chiropractic in our life is the hope. We see so many people walking through our practice that have sort of forgotten, they've given up on themselves. They connect with what's wrong with them, what symptoms, what diseases they may have. And the biggest thing that I've always held for every single person that walks through our door is the hope and the faith and the gratitude that they have given their body the opportunity to heal.
Right.
And I have always walked away from that feeling that's the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that we can offer to the world. That yes, you may be a doctor of chiropractic, my husband may be that as well, but at the end of the day, hope is what I believe our profession gives to the world. I just want to say I'm very grateful and thankful for you. We have one of the things you've taught us is to be grateful, and to actually physically write things down in the morning of what we're grateful for. And you are one of the people we're grateful for. Same with your wife. I know that there are other chiropractors on this line listening in. Dr. Dean, how can they reach you and be a part of, to be even more humble and grateful and honored to help their community? How can they reach you so they can be even better?
Well, it's sweet and simple. You just go on our website, www.tlc4, superteamsplural.com. So the website is loaded with ways to reach us. And my phone number is 215-657-1701. And I would urge you, if your doctor's on the line, engage with TLC, because TLC is about you engaging yourself. We don't have stuff that you need to buy. We don't have memberships that you have to contract with. We have one agreement that you need to make, that you're here to work on you, so you can raise the greatest well-being in your practice as a doctor. And that stands for other doctors as well. So thanks for bringing that up, Michelle.
Yeah, and thank you for lifting us up, Dr. Dean DePice. We really appreciate you. Tune in every Saturday live to Wake Up to Wellness with Michelle Christman on WAMD, WYRE, WKHZ, and KHZTV.com. And remember, you are the absolute best healer that your body has. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend, and a happy Easter and a happy Passover.